ready? Are you on board? It's time to take off. Okay. Hello, we are not.
Målbevisste.
English.
Rakkautemme.
So today we will talk about a story that popped up on the internet a couple of weeks ago, and it is sort of a diary of a writer that is writing a memorial piece on a famous doctor in the UK that recently passed away in a car accident. And while writing this memorial, she finds out that things aren't as they seem, and she kind of gets to know a lot of secrets that eventually put her in danger. And the whole reason why this thing is kind of gaining interest is because people can't really tell if it's real or not. And yeah, so we'll go through that now. And I thought at first talk a little bit about the victim, the car crash victim, the maybe not so wonderful Sir Robert Griffiths. And you might see why I'm saying that a little bit later on. So because this is a story on the internet and they've used fake names, so there isn't anything about his childhood, but from the writing, the text, he is seen to be a well-off and kind of strong-featured man who comes from an established family of doctors, and he himself is a doctor. And he enlisted as a doctor in the British Army, and is said in the diary that he was sent to Afghanistan in 2008. And that's around the same time that the Taliban increasingly start to use improvised explosive devices, also called EIDs, to target troops in vehicles and foot patrols, which led to a high amount of injured soldiers and a lot of casualties, which is probably why he was sent there. And after helping the troops and also train the locals so they could take care of the hospital and the injuries themselves, he came back to UK seen as a hero, and he was knighted by the Queen. And so the next part of the story is where the writer, she goes to meet the family of this car crash victim, and she first meets the mother of this family.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm gonna say a bit more about the mother. Though in the text we don't have that much description about the mother, but what is said is that she's not that tall compared to how she walks, and she has more gentle and elegant features compared to her husband. But we also get a bit of her background because she apparently comes from a middle class family that is relatively different from her husband, and that's why she is also compared to a modern Cinderella. So that makes it interesting, I think, to see a couple that comes from very different backgrounds. Yes.
Yeah, and it's on this way that after talking with Mrs. Linda, that the Robert is seemingly a very good man to her, but after asking some questions, the writer, she is almost thrown out, or more escorted to leave the premises. And that's where we first get to see the daughter, Rosalind. And Mercy has a little bit more to say about that.
Yes. Rosalind is the daughter of Mr. Griffith, and she is very beautiful, and there is, in the story it says she has brown hair and very good looking girl. Also in public she is known as very lovely daughter to his parents, and she interested in mechanics and sciences rather than literature. Yeah, this is how the story talks about the daughter, Rosalind.
Yeah, and the writer offers to take Rosalind back to London because it's kind of the destination of both of them. And while going to London, she talks with Rosalind, and she gets the feeling that something is kind of amiss. And while in the car, she gets the permission to go to the study of Mr. Griffiths. And while she's there, she copies the computer onto the contents of the computer onto a USB before Rosalind comes back and she has to hurriedly leave. But while leaving, she briefly meets a quite rude man that we'll come back to. And after going to the hotel, she tries to go through the files, but she can't because they're all encrypted except for one file. And it's a picture of a naked, very young girl. And after looking through this, she kind of gets the feeling that she want to dig more, and she goes into the social media of Rosalind, where she eventually sees a picture of Rosie and this girl, this naked girl. What we get to know a little bit later on is her name is Grace, and that they are a couple. But after finding out these things, she gets to go to the police station where she gets to meet a not so very nice man, the rude man from earlier, Detective Shannon, which Ethel has a little bit more about.
Yes, like quite similar to the other characters as well. There's not so much information on internet, only like speculation, because the characters, like you said, they have fake names. So there's not a lot of information. The most trustworthy description that we get of the man is from the original text from the diary. And I believe most of the dialogue in the text as well is with the detective. But he was described like his looks, that he was tall and thin and had a light blue eyes. And from the dialogue, we can pretty clearly get the idea that he's very rude and he doesn't hide any kind of disgust or hatred that he has. And he even at one point during the interviews, he accused the writer to be a conspiracy theorist. So he's a very not a nice man to be around.
Not pleasant at all.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it is after this meeting where the writer becomes very scared after meeting this what should we call him, rude guy.
Yeah.
But
Don't really only call him men.
and she gets quite scared, and so she goes away from the police. And by the time she gets back, she gets the autopsy for the car crash victim, which Frenchie will tell a little bit more about.
Exactly. So our writer, she kind of gets the autopsy report from her boss, if I'm not mistaken. And what is to know about this that usually autopsy are performed in suspicious cases, like when you stay less than 24 hours in a hospital and die there, or for example, if the family requested, or just suspicious circumstances. So in that case, we don't know why exactly there's an autopsy, but there's an autopsy performed. And like also one of the things that makes it hard for this people to believe if it's a real story or not is that usually you have to wait weeks or months before getting an autopsy report. So people are confused about this part. I also would like to say that in the autopsy, there's actually something that is found, and this is found is the molecule that are found correspond to a plant that is known under the name of wolfsbane or monkshoot, or if you want the real name is like Aconitum napellus, because it's from the Aconitum families. And this is a very, how to call this plant? I would say it has a nice name, but it's not that nice, not that gentle. It's very common to find it in Northern Europe. Like to say it had one in my garden, so it's very common. And it is composed of aconitin, mesaconitine, ipaconitin that are alkaloids, and cardiotoxin that are mostly found in the tuber and the roots of this plant. It comes from like Greek, I mean, without struggle, because this plant is really, really fast acting and really dangerous because if you touch it without gloves, then the aconitin and the mesaconitin could actually get through the skin and causes, of course, respiratory and cardiac problems. So we could say it's a nice plant, but for what we know is that this plant is easy to get to know if you're poisoned by this plant because it tastes awful and you have numbing of the tongue and the mouth and it's like a lot of other symptoms comes like hard breathing, weak like heartbeats or confusion and amazing multiple organ failures. So really a good Sunday is like perfect. But the little dose is like 2 milligram of aconitin. So even if you die within 4 hours, it's like recognizable. But I would like to say that there's no antidote found until this day. And the thing that is interesting about this plant is that, or the writer of the story, she kind of heard that the wife loves plants. So she goes back to an old interview that she found on the net. And when looking at all the rushes that she could found, she see the same plant in the back of the video. So she has now a new information that this substance was present in the Sir Griffith's body and was also in the possession of the wife. So it raised new ideas of like, was it really an accident? So yeah, I will let the story continues from here.
So it's quite interesting that they find out that the mother maybe not doesn't seem as innocent and not as much of a grieving wife as or a grieving widow, I should say, as she first seems. And after reading the diary of Mr. Griffiths, she finds out that Rosalind is bisexual or a lesbian, and that the father is not happy about that, and also that the mother is quite angry about him having an affair with the young Grace. And it really shows that the family is not getting along at all, and it's all just a facade. And it's also when it comes to the daughter, she studies mechanics, right? And so he was in a car accident, so he raised some suspicions. Mercy, you have a little bit more information.
Yes, in the story we can find that there the writer found few stories and posts on Rosie's Instagram, which mentions her girlfriend Grace's death, and we can like make a speculation that Rosie could killed her father because of her anger and since she was interested in the mechanism, she can cause like she can did something to cause the car accident. So this is the speculation that we can have so far for Rosie.
Yeah. And it really shows that this family is, it has a few issues, to say lightly. And it is after this sort of finding out more about the family situation that she finds more files that she can open and more documents, but they are in another language, which is in Burmese. And in these files, after translating them, she figures out that it has a connection to the organ transplant or the organ harvesting, more so, that is happening in Myanmar. And it shows that Sir Griffiths, his work on transplant research and how to improve all of that has a connection to this case. And it's basically, the case is basically that the Myanmar military is selling organs of protesters who have been killed. And what some people are speculating on the internet is that if this is real, he has a key role in both teaching and recruiting doctors to perform these surgeries, and that he is getting a large compensation for this contribution he's making. And that ties into that he has a close relationship to another person that was mentioned in these files, which is the wonderful Detective Shannon.
Yes. Throughout the text, before we find the connection to the organ business, the Shannon is slightly cautious, which then is explained by the connection to the organ business. And he's the one basically keeping it under the radar. Like if something pops up, he's the one to go and make sure that it doesn't come back to haunt the people in the business. Like in the case of the Sir Robert Griffiths as well. After he died, Shannon is the one who got the case, and he's making sure that nothing that could be found won't be found. And because of his connection to the business, and there's it was described that his face looks rugged and slim, almost as if it's caused by some kind of disease. And but at the same time, he's very well dressed, and I think it was mentioned that he has an expensive watch as well. And because of all that, it led to speculation about possible connection to drug business as well, so that he would be using drugs as well. But because of he already has connection to illegal business, it would be possible for him to, or make it easier for him to take part in other illegal business as well. That's why there's speculation about his connection to other crimes possibly as well.
Yeah, and after finding out what kind of man he really is, the writer gets a very bad feeling and realizes that she is in danger, as like you said, he is in charge of kind of getting rid of possible obstacles. So she decides to take contact with a journalist in Greece that's is named, excuse my pronunciation, Yorgos Karavais. And I believe that Ethel has even more information on this.
Yes, there's after finding out about the connection, the reporter decides to go to Greece to fly to Greece and meet with this reporter. But as she lands, she finds out that he has been shot, and that is actually a true case. Like that actually happened in the real world not too long ago, and that is Yorgos Karaivas. Like he's the only name that by Googling, you're actually able to find information about him. So where the other names are fake, his name is real. This is a real person. And he was actually a reporter that specialized in organized crimes and allegedly died because of them. He was murdered. He was going back home after work, stepped outside of his car and was shot. I believe there was 10 shots that was fired by two men who then drove off with a scooter. And the police has a CCTV picture of the two shooters, but they have not been able to identify them, even though they have the picture of them. But it was a very recent incident, and it is a true incident and true person.
Yeah, and this is actually kind of where the story ends. It ends with her getting to know that her lifeline, this journalist, has been shot. And the next thing we know is that she gets in contact with his secretary, and she's planning to meet him, and that's where it all ends. But now I'm curious, what do you guys think happened? What do you guys opinions? What do you believe?
Like the text after this moment is rather short because we have a few, like, we cannot go through the same writing of the writer being, we don't know if it's paranoia anymore because it can be a bit stressful, I guess. but it's like the writing goes really fast and you can feel like the emotion of like scared. So it's short and but the end is very, I would say the end is peaceful because it's like kind of like a prayer. I hope everything goes well and everything. So I was kind of shocked and wanted to know more. Like, and I was also like, you like speculating like what could have happened. Why does it is it stopping here? And I would like, I'm gonna talk about it first, but I believe that, I mean, it would make it interesting for me to believe that the writer is dead, and this is why we do not have more writing. And I like kind of like this theory, not because I'm a psychopath, but because I also believe because I also believe it's a story, so that would make it like interesting to make it finish like this, and also because most of the people evocated in this story are like half of them are dead. Honestly, if you just look at the like people, there are like 8 people, and 4 of them, if we consider the writer also dead, it's like half of them are dead. And I'm like, that's I don't know, but I want to believe this way. So I don't know how you guys thought about the end.
So you think it's
Well,
fake also is
Yeah, I believe it's a story.
Yeah,
well,
me too.
oh,
oh
I can
oh,
say,
yeah,
oh,
you can go on.
yeah.
yeah, I also agree with Frenchie because like this, even though the story might be real, there is so many things that like it is hard to believe. Like most of the people in the story dies, and usually like people write the story like this and make the readers like imagine about the situation, and like the story can be movie either. So I think this story is hard to be real life. It is just a story, and
Hmm. See, I think a little bit different. I think I'm not entirely sure whether I think it's 100% real, but I do think one thing to take note of, it's kind of strange to have all these fake names and all these people dying and that kind of thing, but then mention a real person at the end and leaving his name in. I don't know what you guys take from that, but I think, yeah.
Well, I actually disagree with you, Frenchie and Mercy. I actually believe it's a true story. It's a true crime, but the identities have just been hidden of the actual characters because there's so many connections to real life incidents and actually very recent ones as well. Like not only the mentioning of the Greek reporter, but also when we talked about the Myanmar, like um, I took a part in a seminar not too long ago that actually our school held. Um, and one of the panelists during the seminar mentioned that the Myanmar military junta um, is actually taking part in organ harvesting. So that is actually like, again, a connection to real life events,
Oh,
like through the Burmese language. So I believe it's a true crime, and they just hid the identities because the scale of the entire thing is just so huge that they are scared of maybe getting in trouble themselves.
mm. Then do you think that the writer is still alive and they're just hiding?
Yeah, I believe that the author is still alive, but she cannot come out because she's still afraid of the people in the organization, and the she probably released because at the end uh, she's connected by the secretary of the reporter, Greek reporter, and I believe that they probably released the text together to kind of wanted to see if people would believe the story before releasing the names. Because if they had just released the names straight out like that, no one would have believed them, because it's unbelievable story, isn't it?
Um, I'm gonna argue with you like we used to do a lot. But I think that if it's a real story and the writer is really scared, like you said, and she's hiding, I think it's too dangerous for her to publish even anything, because even if she's hiding, we know like who she is. You can retrace the past, and like we know that she's in Greece, then she like to contact with everything. So I think it's too dangerous, and the mentioning of real names is not a good enough proof for me to say that it's the real story, because I could write no matter like a fake story and just impute names, and I'm like, I don't think it's enough for me. It's like it's really convincing, and I like the fact that it's like really tied with reality. But I'm like, I need more. But then maybe, like you said, the person is hiding and doing a sort of test, and that's why we can't have like real name. Even the city name, like Hampshire, is not like I looked up on Google. It's like doesn't work except if you're looking for Texas, which is not in our case. So it's like I'm not convinced, but if we have more information later, maybe you can make me change my mind. But so far, you haven't like been able to do it.
One thing I will say though is I kind of disagree with the whole perspective on that. Oh, they can trace her back. They can see who she is, and that they now know she's in Greece, because that can be used as a way to lead them to Greece while she travels further away. She might have already left Greece by this point.
And to be honest, her name is not mentioned.
Yeah.
And we don't actually like, she could be writing as she and she's actually he. Like, we don't know anything about the writer apart from the where she allegedly lived. That again was written by her. So she could have just lied.
But if it was the real story, if the writer published this and everybody can read this, in that case, the writer would have died because like the bad guys might have killed her if they know that like she may reveal all the facts about them. So it's, even though some kind of names and like places or even the plants make sense in some case, it is still like lack to be true or fact.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I guess I can see why you'd think that, but at the same time, I think the reason for changing the names, the reason for giving all these kind of things is to one thing, to direct the attention probably elsewhere, but also that she can stay safe. If people don't know exactly who she met, they can't really tell who she is either. So if she meets with people and then says, instead of saying it was Bob, that it was a Rosie, for example, people would focus their attention on trying to find this Rosie person, but not look at Bob. Because if they met Bob, they could be, oh, did you talk to someone like a couple of months ago? Oh yeah, I talked to this nice blonde girl who was asking me questions about this and that. And it's also in the text. She never mentions her boss's name. She never mentions her newspaper's name. And so I think the reason why she's not saying anything is because she's in hiding and she is continuing to try and stay safe.
Okay, we can like. I would like to say that it reminds me of something that I've like seen in Christianity class, honestly, because it's like about the veracity of like this writer and this story. Is like it can be the writer could either be like it's true, like what she writes is true, so or she could be simply a liar, or she could be just a lunatic believing that everything that she's writing is true. So it reminds me of this father like C.S. Lewis. that just like explain it like Jesus could either be the Lord, a lunatic, or like what is the last one? A liar. And so in the story, we're kind of in the same position where we actually don't know, and we're making supposition of like, is she like a liar, and we all are like making suspicion that she's just a creative writer, or is she just lunatic believing that everything is happening to her that we can kind of believe in the end because everything goes fast and like you kind of see paranoia going on, or is it true and she's hiding? It's like because someone has to write the story in the end. So I don't know what you think about that.
I do think maybe, I think also that maybe who the writer is isn't necessarily the most important thing. If this is real, shouldn't it be more trying to look into the police and look into these other big organizations behind this? And even if it ends up being untrue, wouldn't it be better to do this and kind of being able to put down the rumors?
Mm-hmm.
It's just what I think.
Mm-hmm.
But then, what do you guys think about Sir Griffiths, this wonderful man? Do you think he actually? Did you think he was murdered?
Like, I think that it wasn't an accident. The car accident wasn't actually an accident. I think that the fact that they found wolfsbane from him is like, because it was said that it is extremely poisonous plant, and it was mentioned in the text that it like accidental deaths are not common. Like, it's very difficult to accidentally, like, he would have walked in the garden and got a poison on his body and then like died because of that. Like, it's very not common. So I actually believe that the Linda, the wife, is behind all of it, and she has some kind of connection to it, because the wolfsbane poison also, it causes an heart attack. So it could be that the poison caused a heart attack while he was driving, and that's why the car crashed. But like, the reason that caused the crash wasn't just because he lost the control of his car. It was because he had a heart attack while driving, and he actually died near Hampshire, the town where they lived and where the garden was. So it could be possible that he was somehow got the poison in his body before he went to drive and like had the drive. So it's because like Eglantine said, it is a poison that acts very fast, and the effects show very fast. So it is possible for him to get the poison, go to drive a car, and then have a heart attack, and cause a car crash because of that.
I would have to like disagree with you. Like again, we love that. No, I believe your theory is fine because it's like, oh, she like it's very fast acting and like he could whatever somehow eat it, drink it, I'm not sure, and pass away in this car of a heart attack. But I feel like it is so fast acting and it tastes so bad that you cannot realize it and probably would have called like for help, honestly. And also like accusing Linda is I think too much because yeah, there's this plant in the back of her garden, or like I don't know how she called her place, but it is a very common plant to find in Europe. Like it is really common. I would have to say I had one in my garden and no one tried to poison me. Like I'm still here. So it's like it's not even dangerous to have one because your kids, and she has only one kid, and like she's a grown child, so I don't think like she needs to like protect them from having this in her like garden. So honestly, it's a beautiful flower, and I don't think she killed him. It's not.
Well, wasn't it that you don't necessarily need to eat the poison? It you can have the effects of it even like if it touches your skin, because it
Touch
goes
it.
to yeah, if you touch it and it goes through your skin
But
to your system.
you don't really make someone touch the flower. Like, here, take the flower, touch it. And
But
like,
Linda has quite a strong motive as well, because she was cheated on by Robert with this young girl, which is completely ridiculous. Like, it's bad. It's
mhm.
bad, and she was cheated on, and that's already gives pretty much also like motive for her, because people had killed for far less, and Robert was rich, like he was actually rich, and Linda wasn't from wealthy background. So there's not only there's the cheating, but there's also the money, and your significant other is actually the most likely. Like if someone kills you, it's most likely to be your significant other than anyone else in the world. Like someone you had a relationship with is more likely to kill you than just a random person walking on the street.
Yeah, but if I follow in this theory, Linda is not the only one with a motive. The daughter also has a strong motive in this one. And if you go also about cheating, if we believe all the rumors that we can hear in the bar, she was also cheating on him with a few men. So I don't think money was a problem in that, because she was living a fine life and apparently also doing what she kind of wanted to do. So I think in the story, it's not enough. She doesn't have enough motive. Even if she was cheated on, she's not the only one. But in my opinion, the daughter has a stronger. Well, let's say that I believe there's more chances for the daughter to be a really good suspect for this.
Yeah,
Okay, can I say something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I heard your opinions, and I just want to say this was an real accident, because based on the story, we don't have enough like proof to the accident that someone caused it. Like for Rosie, even though Rosalind had an interest in mechanism, I think her skills are still not enough to cause an accident, because even for us, we cannot can't do anything with our mathematics we learned. So her knowledge for cars are not that big to cause the accident. And secondly, I think for Linda, even though Linda had the plant Wolfsbane, and it is possible that she tried to kill her husband, but it did not cause her death. I searched on the internet and found out that the Wolfsbane usually cause the death within like 4 hours, 1 to 4 hours or something. Yeah, and there is written dose of the plant which can kill the person, and we don't even know that the Mr. Griffith met the wife before like she like get in the car or something. So since we not have enough proof to make sure that the someone killed the Mr. It is like more easier and for us to think that it was just an accident.
However, I agree that I don't think it's the mother. I think that, well, you see, the thing is, Linda, if she were to kill him, one thing, if it's about money, if he dies, she loses her like source of money. He is the one who brings in money. And also, I get that she is angry jealous, perhaps, that he is with a younger woman. Or I would say, I also agree with French. Like the daughter has more reason in that case. She has also been cheated on with her father impregnating her girlfriend.
Oh,
and her girlfriend eventually killing herself, so she lost the love of her life, kind of. And so she would be far more angry, I assume. And she's also a teenager where hormones do things and you act before you think, probably, or like you make these plans maybe that you wouldn't do if you were older. And I also think the car accident, maybe her skills weren't as good as it would need to be to do this properly, like Mercy said. But I also think that she has a connection with Shannon. Like he comes in and out of the house. He is the father's so-called friend. If she knows him, maybe he's kind of like an uncle to her, and he has ties to police. If she messed up, he can hide the evidence of her doing this whole thing. It would be easy for her to commit this crime and get out of it, at least far more easier than the woman, because she would be the prime suspect in case of this thing. And I also think that the amount needed for poisoning was said to be very little. But even so, we don't know exactly how much was in his system. It could be even less than is necessary to actually kill him.
so we also have to consider Shannon, Detective Shannon.
I think Shannon is just kind of like this douchebag on the side. He's too busy with his
Yeah,
own
like just
things.
didn't he get paid money to stay silent? And if he kills the person who's like paying him to stay silent, like it doesn't make sense.
But then what if like Robert was trying to do something stupid or like stop his work with the organization or something? Then the organization could actually ask the detective to take care of the situation. But again, we do not know that much. And we like, if we do not know the exact relationship between Shannon and Robert Griffith, like, would he be able to to kill him, or are they really close friends and that's why they're working in the same business? So it's like we do not have enough, I think, to accuse it to keep Shannon, even though I kind of like want him to. I don't know what to think about this person, honestly. Except that I hate him, but
Yeah, I
It
think,
was pretty rotten.
yeah.
yeah, and I think also we know too little about him. All we know is that he is, like you said, rotten. He is the lowest of the low, perhaps. But I also think because this whole organ harvesting thing is something that primarily goes on in Myanmar, would Detective Shannon get his money from, because he is after the money, is what I assume. And so, couldn't he get his money from Detective Shannon as well? Sorry, from Griffiths, because he was a rich man as well. His background was rich. He has money, so he could pay off Detective Shannon to not keep him safe, but at least not kill him. It's kind of what I'm thinking.
Yeah. Don't
True.
think.
Okay, so now, if we were to summarize quickly, story and everything is it's an unfortunate event, but it's also the accident is an unfortunate event that is happening amongst a lot of other things. And I don't know if you guys want to say your opinions shortly, or should I shortly summarize it for us all? Well, I still think it's Linda. Frenchie thinks.
I would go through it's either the daughter or just a basic regular accident.
Okay, so me and Frenchie here are allies. We both think it's the daughter. Ethel, you're on your own, is Linda, and Mercy, you think is an accident. And what we all agree on, it's not Detective Shannon. He is just guilty of being a douchebag. Is it's,
Oh my god.
I don't know if you have anything else you would add to that. And we all think that the writer is. We have a few. It's split in half and half. It's she's dead, or she's alive.
I believe that she is still alive.
I believe she received a good headshot and now she's no more.
I believe she's dead.
Yeah, I believe she is alive. I think as well, but I don't know. We can end this up with asking for you guys' opinions down in the comments below. Do you think this is real? First of all, who do you agree with? Are you on team Elizabeth and Frenchie here? Or are you with the others? And do you also agree with our opinions on our dear old buddy Detective Shannon here? So yeah, that's everything. We'll see you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Fuck, sorry.